This is Driving Solutions, exclusively on CBTnews.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Welcome into another edition of Driving Solutions right here at CBTnews.com. AI is everywhere, and dealerships are starting to test where it actually makes a difference. Today we're joined by Kerri Wise. You've seen her here before on CBT News, as well as Lance Schafer. You've seen him as well. So they're both from Lotlinx to break down how dealers are using AI now and where it's headed. So thank you so much for joining us, folks, on the show today. The AI is, as you know, the buzz out there. Everybody is using it. They don't know if they're using it right or not. They know, though, it's going to play a big role in operating a profitable dealership moving forward. So, Kerri, let me start with you. Right now, many dealerships are experimenting with generative AI tools like ChatGPT and Copilot. What are the most common ways you're seeing dealers use these tools today, and where do they actually deliver real value?
Yeah, we actually did a survey just to see what the feedback on these tools were from dealers across the country. And, as you would imagine, eight out of 10 of them are using them on a weekly basis.
Sure.
But it's primarily reserved to marketing and sales related prompts. So they're looking to rewrite their vehicle descriptions. They're looking to use these tools for marketing and ad copy or social posts. They're also using it to help them write email templates and scripts. So if you think about it, we're really at a very surface level in terms of how we're using these tools in terms of auto retail.
Okay.
And, that is promising that at least 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 of them are using it on a weekly basis, but there's still a lot of opportunity, as you can imagine, that we'll discuss, where we can make more out of these tools to help drive business outcomes.
They're only scratching the surface, that's for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Lance, why is it important to connect AI systems to real dealership data, and what impact does that have?
Yeah, so it's really important. And the first thing I'd say is that usually if you're using, say, a regular chatbot like, say, ChatGPT or Gemini, in order to get that data into the system, you got to use that upload button. Or cut and paste it into the browser.
Yeah.
And which is fine, but it's really inefficient. So first of all, you got to go get that data, upload it. If you have a full connection, that's already in there. You don't have to worry about that. So that's kind of the first benefit. It's just faster, and it's if it's being up, if it's fully connected, you have to worry about all that stuff.
Right.
The second is it's orchestrated. So what that means is basically when all those systems are up there simultaneously, when you're asking the chatbot something, it can look at a whole bunch of things at the same time. So for example, the CRM data and maybe your marketing data, your Google Analytics, for example, your sales data, all that type of stuff. So it actually has a nice, a way better context on how to help you because it's got all those kind of data connections put inside.
Nice. Kerri, what are some of the limitations dealers run into when they rely on general purpose AI tools instead of industry-specific AI platforms?
Yeah, back to the survey we did, what we're seeing is a couple of themes in terms of frustration. One, there's prompting failure, as I call it. We saw 84% of dealers reporting to us that they were often or almost always get a failure in terms of what they get out of generic AI tools.
Sure.
When we look at what they were most frustrated with, it was typically the response was too generic, or it wasn't tied specifically to their dealership, their inventory, as Lance just pointed out. We also see that in many cases, they're just not confident that the chatbot really understands their question, their business operations. And really what it comes down to is while they're using it for marketing and sales tactics, what they really are also looking for is help me understand my inventory. Help me diagnose, why vehicles aren't selling. Help me identify, which vehicles I need to focus on. So I think dealers are wanting a deeper level of guidance, and really what they're looking for is answers.
Okay.
Right? Give me the answers to these strategic problems that I face every day.
Yeah, makes sense. Lance, I know that your team recently launched LotGPT, which we've talked about here at CBT News, and now it's got around 6,000 dealers using it. What are the most common themes or types of questions that you're seeing from users?
Yeah, so it's funny because it depends on how long they've been using it. And what we see is when they start, it's very kind of cursory. They're testing stuff out.
Sure.
One of the first things we see them usually do is examine their competition. Dealers are hyper competitive, and because LotGPT has all this data in it, can how am I doing this week versus
Right.
so and so
Right.
dealership, right? So we see lots of like kind of analysis. Where am I positioned in the market? The second thing we kind of see then is after they've kind of got that, they start to look at their own business. So they're saying, what can I do better with my SUV? So that's more of like on the inventory side.
Okay.
They're also doing merchandising. So that's actually probably one of the biggest things. And though that goes into the category of just instead of learning and all the things that AI can do or Gen AI around learning with your data to doing things. So we're seeing, we're seeing kind of these initial agentic kind of things like writing descriptions for the website or to be distribution into the portals, or taking a look at images and redoing them or annotating them to be more effective on the websites or when they distribute. So that's more of like kind of the newest stuff, which is more what of course, the buzzword is agentic, where you're giving it agency to actually do things that are actually happening in the business. So
Right.
those are the I guess the last one, and probably that makes sense with Lotlinx specifically, is VIN level analysis. So digging in on a VIN, and you can see dealers saying, "What's going on with this VIN?" And well, you know what they're asking: Why is it still on the lot?
That's right.
And having all that data come in and having it synthesized and say, "I think this is what's going on, and here's what we think you should do." That's also a pretty one of the top features for sure.
That blows me away. That's fantastic. I wish I had that when I was operating dealerships for sure. I mean, if you could get that VIN specific and get that information, man, that's just so invaluable. So really is. So Lance, looking ahead, how do you see AI evolving inside dealerships over the next few years, from a novelty tool to something that actually helps run dealerships and stores day to day?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. So of course the buzzword is agentic, but what it really means is that you're hiring these AIs to do things for you
Yeah.
autonomously. I mean, that's the future. Or in the interim, it'll be what's known as human in the loop. So it kind of does all the work, but you still need a manager to kind of approve, say, for example, that description that's going onto the site, or like a price change, for example, or you can imagine even screening a bunch of resumes for salespeople and then agentically deciding who to hire.
Right.
Like, so you can see like all these happening all at once. So that really is the future. Right now we're seeing dealers using it to distill and help intelligently look at their businesses. That's fairly established now. What we're seeing is like, okay, now that can you act upon that intelligence? Can you actually start? So we'll start seeing that start to chip away different functions within the dealership over time, and it's going to be really exciting. And I think we haven't even seen the tip of that yet.
Yeah.
But that's what's coming.
That's
And it's
fantastic.
exciting because we're on the forefront of that. And, we'll be back here, Jim, announcing some new things that we're working on.
Yeah.
That will be really leading the way in automotive on this front, this category for automotive.
Yeah.
I think we're at a point where dealers have lots of data intelligence. They have all kinds of reporting from every single vendor, but the idea of giving them answers and actually helping them to actually take action, it's really exciting to see where the industry is going.
Oh, no
And
question.
we're at the forefront of that.
For dealers, Kerri, that are interested in trying LotGPT for themselves, where do they go to access that?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, lotlinx.com/lotgpt, and you can request access. And the only thing we're really vetting is you have to be a dealer. So give us your information. We'll get right back to you with an access code, assuming you're a dealer, and you're right in. It's free for dealers, so we're not charging for this.
That's great. Wow, that's awesome. I've spoken to dealers that are on the program and using it, and they absolutely love it. They're blown away with it. So
absolutely. And we love it. Like Lance said, we're at 6,000 dealers now, and steadily growing. And really what we love to see is the engagement level and how often dealers are logging in, how many prompts they're making. It's just becoming more embedded in their day to day.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. Kerri Wise, Chief Marketing Officer at Lotlinx, and Lance Schafer, GM of Product and Technology at Lotlinx. Thank you both very much for coming in today and sharing, this exciting information for dealers. I mean, AI is, as you know, as I open up the segment, it's everywhere. Everybody's using it. Everybody's trying to figure it out. Sounds like you guys have got your hand on the pulse and you have figured it out. So I would encourage everyone to go to Lotlinx and check out this chat that they've built. It'll blow you away. You will be 6,001 in a second of dealers using it. So again, thanks so much. Great seeing both of you, and I can't wait to have you back to hear what's next coming out of the Lotlinx camp.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching Driving Solutions.